My name is Jessica Levin, and I'm the Experiential Learning and Study Abroad Manager at BMCC. I've put together this short presentation to help students connect their study abroad experience to their resumes and cover letters. I hope you find it helpful. Students often come back very excited from study abroad, eager to share how much fun they had. For some, it's even life-changing. One of the things people don't get, though, if they haven't studied abroad, is the physical and mental energy required to make this experience happen. I bet that at least once during your experience, you were really put to the test to see how adaptable and flexible you can be. These are the types of experiences you can talk about in the job and internship process. First, don't assume the employer understands the value of your study abroad experience. The number of people studying abroad in the United States is increasing, but chances are that most hiring managers did not study abroad, so they're not going to fully understand the way that study abroad impacted you. They may think it was interesting or fun, but they may miss what you actually learned, so it's on you to connect the dots for them. A very small percentage of students in the United States study abroad. Out of all students in higher education, which is approximately 16 million, looking at the 2017-2018 academic year, only 300,000 students went abroad. And out of this 300,000, only 7,000 were community college students. You can also see that less than half of students going abroad are students of color. So what does this all mean for you? It means that you were able to make study abroad happen as a community college student, specifically at BMCC, where the majority of students are students of color. And on top of that, you received the BMCC Association Scholarship to help pay for this experience. Because funding is limited at BMCC, this actually was a very competitive scholarship to receive. So when you're interviewing with an employer or writing your cover letter or resume, you should really share what an accomplishment this was. You can tie the study abroad experience to the NACE Career Readiness Competencies. These were put together by college career and HR professionals who conducted research with employers to determine the key skills or competencies that students need to really be ready for the workplace. I've pulled out the ones that I think are most related to study abroad, but you can highlight any of these and how they relate to you. So first, I'm going to start with critical thinking and problem solving. This competency shows how you can obtain, interpret, and use knowledge, facts, and data in a decision-making process. So it may also show how you're original or creative in getting things done. During study abroad, was there a time you used really good reasoning skills to analyze an issue, make a decision, and overcome a problem? Try to think of an example for this. Next, we have teamwork and collaboration. So thinking of the study abroad experience, how did you work well with others and build relationships? Were you challenged by diverse cultures, races, genders, religions, sexuality? Was there a moment where you had to compromise or manage conflict? And then we have leadership. So it's possible that you adapted to study abroad faster than others in your group. If this was the case, did you help others when they were struggling? Or did you help the group resolve a conflict at some point? You can highlight which interpersonal skills you used to accomplish this. So maybe you showed empathy to others and helped motivate them. Or maybe you pointed out people's strengths and this helped the group reach a common goal. Leadership skills generally show how you organize, prioritize, and delegate work. Then we have professionalism and work ethic. So as you all know, study abroad at BMCC means you're getting 3 credits in a very short amount of time. In order to get a good grade, you need a good work ethic. This includes being punctual, working well with others, and managing your time and assignments. I already know that all of you have these skills because it's one of the reasons you were selected to study abroad. So you could talk about how study abroad really helped improve these skills and really make you a reliable and accountable person. And last but not least, global and intercultural fluency. So I think this is the first one we usually expect from an international experience. The hope is that study abroad really develops your ability to learn from diverse cultures And more importantly, just engage with different belief systems, engage with people that you may not agree with, but be able to have a conversation with them respectfully. I would say that someone who has genuine intercultural skills is open, inclusive, and sensitive. So thinking of your whole study abroad experience, what stood out to you from everything you learned? What skills did you use to adjust and adapt to the new country and culture? And during this process, did you learn new things about your own identity or your own culture? Did study abroad challenge what you think about your own culture or home country? So these are the types of things you can talk about when you're discussing global and intercultural fluency. So now that we reviewed these career readiness competencies, I hope it's clear why study abroad should appear more than academic tourism on your resume. You can share why the experience was fun, but really be ready to talk in professional terms. So the chances are you may have an opportunity to do this in the interview or even the cover letter. So for the interview, be prepared to share a story of how you developed one or more of the skills I just discussed. And it's not a bad idea to explicitly state the skill that you learned. Also be prepared to share why you wanted to study abroad in the first place. It could be, as you know, because it was related to your studies, your career goals, or just a really strong personal interest that you had. Just be prepared to talk about it. Here's an example of how you may talk about study abroad in your cover letter. You'll see that I mentioned the BMCC Association Scholarship. I mention why the person joined the program in the first place, so for intensive language study in France, and what they learned from it, the teamwork and problem-solving skills. So this is just one example of how you could put this in the cover letter, if it's relevant to the job or the internship that you're applying to. The next examples are for the resume. I'm going to offer a few suggestions for both the education and the experience section. So the education section is usually where you put your college academic history. You can list study abroad briefly, as I did with this example with Spain. This may be enough to catch the employer's eye as something different from the other resumes. In this next example, you can see how I highlighted study abroad in China and emphasized a specific goal that the person may have had for going abroad. So in this example, it's pursuing intensive language study. And in this last example with Brazil, you can see how you can elaborate on a project that you may have completed during study abroad because it may be directly related to your studies or to the job or internship you're applying for. So for this, because they created a short documentary, the employer would see the person's technical skills. And then they would also see their research interest, which in this example would be race, class, and gender. You'll also notice that I use both the terms study abroad and international study. It's up to you which one you want to use. Also notice that if I can highlight the BMCC scholarship you received, I'll make sure to do that. Being a scholarship recipient always looks good on a resume. Now for the experience section. This section typically has paid and volunteer positions, but you can also include special projects or a longer section on international study. This would be appropriate if the job or internship you're applying for has a focus on international or intercultural experiences. This example is from our program in Italy, where a student researched issues with sanitation and waste management. And then this one is a longer example of how to incorporate study abroad using our program in Mexico. So you can elaborate on the different topics you learned throughout the course. You can show how you learned from and engaged with the local community. I know that's a huge part of this program. And in this program, it's also important to learn about the indigenous and African roots, as well as contemporary immigration issues. So overall, for any of these examples, you should really choose parts of the program that speak most to you. Because if you put them in a cover letter or a resume, you want to make sure that you can talk about it genuinely. So just reflect back on that entire experience and think what really stood out to you. And before we conclude, I just wanted to highlight some different areas you can work in with an international focus. You can see that this ranges from finance to education to economics to government affairs and public policy, the health field, sustainability. So there's really a lot out there if you're interested in having an international focus in your work. And here I have just a short list of some public, private, and nonprofit organizations that you could look into for either a job or an internship. So I hope that these tips are helpful and that you feel confident to show employers the value of your study abroad experience and why you would be a great employee and team member. Don't hesitate to reach out to me if you want to discuss something more in depth. I'm happy to take a look at your resume or cover letter and talk about how the program impacted you and how you could talk about it in this process. So thank you for listening, and I look forward to hearing from you.